Hello, friends. Shall we move into The Journey of the Magi by T.S. Eliot? Okay, let us have a journey now. This is first, let me summarize the poem and then we move on to the different themes it has and then uh, what are the literary devices T.S. Eliot employed in that poem. Okay, and now the summary of the poem. The journey of the Magi gives an account of the journey undertaken by the Magi to see the nativity of Christ. It describes the experiences they had and recounts the effect of the newborn Jesus Christ through the voice of the Magus. The first stanza, describe how the situation and the environment was very severe and cold and terrible and what kind of difficulties they encounter. Okay, it's a very cold time that maybe as we have it's in a winter time. It's a very cold winter, the worst of the year. It was a long journey from east to Bethlehem in Israel, and they had very unpleasant experience on the way. If you know that where is your destination, it is easy for you to go. But for the Magi, they didn't know the destination where they are going to reach. So they have doubts, worries, and fear about their destination. And also, do they and they have a doubt that this journey is a useful one for them. So, does the journey uh, give them any purpose in their life? So, they have so many doubts. And here, the journey is unpleasant because the climate is and the weather is very cold and chilly, and they are crossing through the desert. Even the camels have sores and they refuse to walk, they refuse to obey their masters. And the camel, the people who are driving the camel also ran away in the middle of the journey. And so, in that deserted situation, in the desert, they felt helpless almost. And they regret sometime, the Magi regret sometime. Why do they have these kind of journey? They might have stayed in their summer palaces and served by the girls, the Sabbath to drive away the hotness outside. So they thought about their native place where they enjoyed the luxury and the comforts. Now they have come out from the comfortable zone and they are struggling and they are not sure that are they going to fulfill the purpose of the journey. So that is another thing. So uncertainty about what they are doing. So in such situation, the camels also did not obey because of they have sores, and also the camel men also ran away. In spite of everything, they thought they have to continue their journey. And the night fires also went out. They don't have any lights. They had no shelters, and the people on the way they refused to give them shelters. They don't know where to stay. So, to avoid staying by night, they tried to walk. They decided to walk during the night time, and consequently, it will keep them warm also, they could prevent themselves from the chillness and the cold outside if they walk. So they decided to walk during the night time. They slept now and then. They heard the voice of doubts. They started grumbling for the journey they have undertaken, and they blabber sometime. They wondered whether it was their folly to have undertaken this kind of trip in their life. So this is how they are crossing the space in the desert. The next morning, after night, they reached in the early morning a valley, temperate valley. So the wise men reached the temperate valley where they have seen the vegetation. So during till now, they have crossed the desert. Now they have reached the temperate valley where they could find vegetation, greenery, flowers, plants, so trees like that they found. So somehow it represents that hope. So far in the first stanza, we have seen that how difficulty, what kind of trouble they have undergone. Now there is a ray of hope shimmers in the representation of the temperate valley, which was filled with vegetation. There they saw three trees. So in the early morning, they arrived at the temperate valley. There they have seen three trees and a white galloping horse. The three trees represent the crucifixion of Jesus Christ along the side, the both side of the two thieves. So the three trees symbolically represent the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, both sides with these thieves. And the galloping horse, white horse. So they have seen the galloping white horse. That symbolically represents the resurrection of Jesus Christ. And then they came to an inn. There, inside, there were three men. They are playing dice. So the three men, they are playing dice. It symbolically revealed that Jesus, after the crucifixion, Jesus' robes was given dice, piece of silver and sticks, and leaves. They saw feet kicking empty wine bags. They could get no information about Jesus. And so the men they are playing dice represented that how the Jesus robe was taken as a lot by the soldier who was in guard for the crucifixion, nearby the crucifixion. They worshipped and then they reached. In the evening, they arrived Bethlehem. So in the early morning, they reached Temperate Valley. There they saw three trees and then a galloping white horse. And then they reached the inn where they came across a men. They are playing dice, and then with the silver coins. So the silver coins also coins represented uh, how Jesus was betrayed by Judas Iscariot. That is symbolically presented. And in the evening, they reached Bethlehem and they saw newborn baby Jesus, infant Jesus Christ. And they worshipped Jesus. It was somewhat satisfactory. So the purpose of the journey fulfilled now. So after they watched the birth of Jesus Christ, their purpose of the journey fulfilled, and they are very content and they are very satisfied. and they decided to return to their native place. What kind of an impact it makes on the Magi? The journey of the wise men took place a long time ago. Now the Magus is ready to take up the journey once again, in spite of all the hardship they encountered on their way. On their return, they have one doubt, that do they notice the birth of the Christ or the death of the Christ? From the birth of Christ until the death of Christ, there are so many events symbolically represented in this poem. So the Magi also have a doubt, that do they have a experience of birth of Christ or the death of Christ? And at the end, T.S. Eliot revealed that the birth of the new faith and the death of the old faith. So their entire perception changed. It's not only a journey, outward journey, but they the Magi have the inward journey also, and their entire perception of life totally changed, and the old faith has changed, and the new faith they have got. And when they reach their native place, they cannot believe and they cannot accept their own people. They have old faith. So they wanted to have another death. Death means not physically death, but the death of a old faith and the birth of a new faith. So this is how T.S. Eliot ends this poem. Here, the birth refers to the birth of Christ. It resulted in the death of old faith. Death also suggests the crucifixion of Christ. There is an inevitability of death in birth of Christ, for Jesus was born to die on the cross to redeem the world. So that is the message T.S. Eliot gave through this poem, and it also reflects that T.S. Eliot, when he settled in England, he started following Anglo-Catholicism. So his faith in Anglo-Catholicism reflected in this poem. And the first stanza is basically a message by a bishop. So that he brought as a poem in this first stanza. And the Magus or the Magus is the witness for the death and the birth of this new faith. So this is the summary of the poem. I really uh, I have a faith that you will understand this poem, and let us uh, think about the literary devices and other themes T.S. Eliot employed in this poem in the next session. Thank you for watching.